from 2016 to 2017. Moving into 2018, here we go. Going into my next year here on the land, adapting even more so to the realities of not only an off-grid living, but off-grid living for somebody like me. Somebody like me with opinions like me, with a YouTube channel like this that sets one apart from much of society. It's like I was told by a friend a long time ago, if you're going to go on this route of sharing some of these controversial views, it's going to put you into that box. And even if I come out of the box, if you will, and aim to speak to you outside the box of religion, class, race, I'm still going to be put in the box as that guy whose ideas are considered too strange. And if someone finds himself at odds with my ideas, out of confusion, they'll just say, oh, those ideas are mainstream media. When in fact, they're not. They're not mainstream media. This isn't a mainstream media channel. Now, yes, there are ways in which the mainstream media seeks to hijack certain talking points. And that is not something the masses seem to be aware of. They may think that the mainstream media is there exposing certain things or there with a certain political agenda. They're there with an agenda, but they're really just playing both sides off against each other. We can use CNN as an example. Okay, if they were simply just leftists, then why was CNN pushing all the war propaganda after 9/11? They will play certain angles, even for as long as a decade or more, if it suits their agenda. And if there is a micro generation within a generation that needs to be fed a certain narrative from the elite's perspective, and that's what they've been doing. They've created this world of you're either with us or you're with the ones that we're going to kill. And that's disturbing. There was a blog that I read from someone in the local area. And it was just more of this genocidal foaming at the mouth. You're either with our current president or you're with the enemies of the United States, and you deserve to be. And see, this type of thinking is never good. Whether you like the president or don't like the president, there are those of us that were not fans of Barack Obama. But were we saying that Barack Obama, at least I wasn't, maybe some were, but I don't think that most people were. I don't think that most people were calling for Obama supporters to be put in camps. And then things can change over a few years. People can get really pumped up and not even realize that our whole country is victim to a large psychological operation, to where people are saying things about their fellow Americans and other human beings that they were not saying a few years ago. And so the cognitive dissonance is so great that this information apparently can't be shared with a lot of people that aren't at that level. They'll snap. They'll misidentify a contrarian, an independent mind, an independent voice as their political enemy. And if they're already declaring their political enemies worthy of being put in camps, raped, shot, or whatever else, then what does that say about the future of America? And we can see violent rhetoric on both sides. We can see those that fly under the flag of anti-thought, obviously, over the course of the last year and a half to 2 years. Acts of aggression and assault on the other side under the guise of fighting Nazis, yet in some cases, arguably using Nazi tactics, fascist tactics. How is that going to change our world? How is that going to keep the peace? What peace and progress, right, that we have achieved? A lot of these people are real backwards. We literally see what's been misidentified to be political tensions. In reality, they're using that as a front for their gang warfare. Not gangs like the Crips or the Bloods. They're not slinging kilos of cocaine, right? But they're flying under their flags being anti-Fa or supporting Trump. And they're arriving in these places like Portland, Oregon, and they're converging, and there is conflict, and there is publicity. But what a lot of people don't understand is there's something bigger behind all of it. If it was really about those people being passionate about their country, whether it be those members of Antifa or whether it be, for example, the Trump supporters, you would hear more people vocalizing those issues and less of a focus on clashing, less of a focus on conflict. But there are people that care about issues. They're on both sides, but they seem to be the minority. They do not seem to be the most vocal of the bunch. The masses, the majority, to generalize in a appropriate, truthful manner, the majority of those people going to those rallies, regardless of whatever side they're on, whether it's Tiny Tootsie or Louise, they're there for conflict. And they're there also getting high off of the energy and attention being given to them by their political peers on social media. It's not about the issues. For Tiny, the others, or Louise on the side of anti, they're both token minorities. They are both token minorities, serving the man in their own way, using the man's technology, receiving that energy and attention as superstars while never one day in their whole life, either Louise or Tiny, ever standing up against the actual genocidal system that's leading us to World War III, but playing their part as puppets while people watch. This is our bread and circus. What we're seeing out of individuals on YouTube, the madness will be televised. We see the most insane, to change the topic, individuals on YouTube with the most subscribers and support. It's like this loop of mental illness where mentally ill YouTube commentators amass large audience followings that enjoy being lied to. I've referenced, the whole thing about the Beatles invasion, all those girls getting all hot and bothered. When the Beatles came out, oh my God, oh! Throwing their panties, throwing their bras. Where do we see the equivalent of that today in the alternative media? Where people enjoy the person playing that archetype, even if they know he's a liar, right? They'll quote a few Bible verses, pledge their allegiance to Donald Trump no matter what. It's like they're hitting that gyrating. Oh! It's like I can't believe the type of stuff that they're getting off and supporting and being turned on by. These individuals that call themselves alternative, that are only presenting an alternative to the mainstream media talking points. Wolves in sheep's clothing. So are we a society now where it's men and women, it's women and men, are identifying these particular individuals, the wolves in sheep clothing? I don't believe so. Even when I look at certain individuals that I know are deceiving, I look at what the society, how many millions of people live in our country, for example, Western world aside that has access to YouTube, let's just look at those living within the United States. And people talk about immigration and Mexico and things of that nature, so they push the numbers up to 330, 340, 350. Okay, let's say we're at 330 million. And then you look at certain individuals out there that have been manipulating people's emotions, acting like they're one thing, but potentially serving another agenda. And then you look at what has this nation of 330 million, 340 million? How many people have even attempted to scratch the surface with regards to who these people might actually be serving? We see so much of a collective focus, a shift, right? It's not like they were unaware, the powers that be, the people would wake up to a certain level years ago. They probably could see it in advance, right? So we have been collectively victims of the psyops bait and switch. Oh, sure, he's your president, but he's not a part of the government. The government is separate from him, the deep state. He is outside the government. He just happens to be a president. Other insane lines of logic. And I was referencing earlier, people believe that they can bomb their way through all threats. And even just through life, even if it's a non-threat, there's collateral damage and civilians killed. There are people that have been brainwashed within our society to believe that the United States is holding all the weapons, to not realize the next chapter of reality that's being laid out for us, with China and Russia waiting in the wings, with technology, initially in some cases developed by the West or by Nazi Germany, which many people say was financed by the West, and of course, those that created the modern Israel. And so we can see this path of history up until this point. But we can see how easy it would be for the powers that be to see people waking up to a certain level by this point in time. And so the need for them, in their mind, to divert from people waking up to the powers at the top of the pyramid to then confusing people and making it about particular races or particular countries, right? Or particular individuals. And I will remind you that a lot of people started waking up when George W. Bush was the president, or at least being jolted awake to the idea of a new world order coming to fruition following the events of September 11th, 2001. And even then, I could see the mistakes the Democrats were making by thinking that it was simply a Republican conspiracy. And the same mistake is happening now, where people are acting like it's just a Democrat thing. There are humans amongst us that are encouraging us to have no memories of 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, when it was still the same corruption, still the same military-industrial complex, still the same injustice. In fact, there are more people in the past that would recognize the victims of war, that would recognize things like 9/11 truth. And the powers that be can create an immigration crisis if they want to take compassion away from innocent people. Now, when that type of a move is being played against humanity on a large level with the use of technology, it's a sign of big, big moves, big shifts. And it's a major attack on consciousness. Or technology, something that could unite us and bring us together, and it has united people energetically. Question is, are people united in a conscious idea or united with warlike thinking, warlock thinking, fear-based thinking, destructive thinking? And now, constant fear of a nuclear holocaust. And as much time as people will now give to the concept of World War III potentially being a possibility, how much time will they give to those of us in the real independent underground? In some cases, literally. In the case of someone like me, somebody in the underground that's actually lived off grid, has actually survived homelessness, has actually been traveling, if you will, doing this without family finances, or support. Thank you to those of you that do support and are part of this online family, if you will, which is very different than blood family. I want to thank the online family, those of you that will share video like this with your peers on social media without fear of what they might think about you because you've shared an Alex Ansary video. And that is a way you can help without donating a single dollar. And it's to share these ideas because, look, it takes passion, and that's what I'm meditating on right now. That's why I'm not doing daily videos. I need to bring in this newfound passion for what I'll be doing in 2018 because it takes power. It takes strength and passion to go and go and go and go and make videos and keep making videos despite the fact that I've been doing this 12 years and I'm making videos and I'm seeing 100 views. I'm seeing like 1/100th, 1/1000th, 1 out of 10,000 of what my so-called peers in the alternative media are receiving. Why is that? Why does it seem that no matter how many subscribers I have, the videos don't reach beyond? And the question is, with these new net neutrality bills or laws, whatever the hell is going on, and then YouTube over here, and then other things over here, and the Facebook algorithm over here, it takes strength to have the will to go on in my shoes. The easier, softer path compared to this, it's fast food. Oh, the pay times 4. Don't have to argue. Don't get trolled, right? Just, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Would you like fries with that? But I haven't done that. So I'm still within this range. I'd love to have extra money so I can invest in silver. I'm convinced it's now at 17. I can't even afford to buy silver. I can only afford to pay my bills and not go into default. And I won't allow myself to go into default. I'm not going to lose out on what I started to invest in. I'm all pumped up. I got music on the background. Amazing thing technology can be at sometimes. It's playing off the computer but not recording back in. But I need to be doing more of these videos and releasing some of these thoughts. But I can't shake the feeling that I have. We're about to go through the civilization reset. This is a lot like past collapses of civilizations and continents. And we're living through, albeit in slow motion, we're living through those periods now. And it's evident in the crimes that we're seeing. It is evident in the civil unrest. It is evident in the degree of evil that is being allowed from these people that have been allowed into office. It is evident in the type of draconian technology. They can literally manipulate life. It is evident in the manipulations of genetics. It is evident in the so-called Elon Musk, SpaceX, elitists get off the earth and develop or expand what they've already been starting covertly on either the moon, Mars, or other off-world locations in and around this planet, or perhaps with the use of technology located far beyond anything near this planet. We just don't know. But is there an obvious scramble on the part of the elite to escape their Tower of Babel that's collapsing, to maintain their control in what ways they can? Now, there's a lot of propaganda out there that's been put out by a lot of fake spiritual teachers years ago that the elite were shaking in their boots. They'll play this left-right. There's a lot of people that play the left-right. Obama was the devil. Trump is good. No, they both serve that same Antichrist system. To sit there and go, well, he's bad, but he literally is of God. He's the return of the king. He's with Jesus. To even say those things or insinuate those things disqualifies that person from having any sight whatsoever. Anytime you start just saying that certain people are of God or are of Jesus, I mean, they were doing this with Bush. People were insinuating that with Obama, with the halo around his head when he was campaigning. Important newspapers like Willamette Week showing Obama coming out of the water. And now Donald Trump, the return of the king, also kind of a reference to Lord of the Rings, the third movie, Return of the King. Because they hit that archetype. It itches that, oh, now it's time for righteousness. Yes, for the time. But people are going to view that, the current reality, political reality, with the way that they want. So we talk about like the return of, for some people, as they personalize that, it is a dark place. It's the return of, right, America being a certain way. And that doesn't work for all Americans. Unfortunately, we are dealing with the new dark ages. And in the new dark ages, in the new America, there is a witch hunt. There's a witch hunt afoot. So people that are expressing views, attitudes, opinions that are deemed threatening to the consensus reality, those with the ability, right, to unplug people from the matrix, and I mean that metaphorically, not literally, but it is like a metaphoric, and we have to have the will to unplug the matrix from ourselves before we can help others. Okay. And then you can also end up plugged back into the matrix, right? By not being on your guard, by not staying true to your independent roots. And some people aren't even independent to begin with, but they'll still get duped into conspiracy logic or blaming someone else for their problems or their increase in rent. They're not independent thinkers, and they're not on the spiritual path. They're here to serve the archons. And it sounds a little black and white, but at this point in human evolution and the history of the earth, people have literally split into different camps. Some, I believe, are serving the Creator, or serving the angels that are associated with the Creator, the light, if you will. And then we have the world of darkness and the ideologies of those that are following the darkness, like no consequences for one's actions, no respect for human life. Racist ideology lives within that world because within that world, using racist ideology, that's used as the excuse to eradicate millions of people off the planet. And that is literally serving Satan. That is Satanism. That's taking place right now. We're living on a planet alongside non-self-declared Satanists, but those that literally believe in the ideology of do as thou wilt. No consequences, no teachings of Jesus for us to pay attention to. Even worse so, right, to misuse the teachings of Jesus. To me, that's satanic. When Christopher Green or other YouTubers, right, open up the Bible to mislead Christians while promoting the Antichrist system, while demonizing those that think for themselves, they're serving Satan. They're serving the demiurge. They're serving Shaitan. They're serving that dark system, and they don't want to admit it. So we are living through dark ages, folks. I don't know where things are going to be going from here, but I'd like to see the things that I'm concerned about, right, not happen. Wisdom is separating our inner knowing from that mania and paranoia. Here's what's concerning, right? I've called a lot of things. I was even talking about silver being significant, and now I'm seeing it like literally jump up like almost $1 within a few weeks. I've seen so many of my hunches come to fruition. That's what concerns me. The hunches that I've gotten right, for whatever reason, I don't get credit for. I think that ego, in particular male ego, in today's particular time-space reality is so off the charts that men are more wired for competition, whether it be based on how they see themselves and others, YouTube numbers, dollars. They're manipulated, socially engineered creatures of this modern earth, but they haven't yet had a spiritual experience where they're able to transcend competition ego and see the interconnectedness, regardless of our ethnicity, that binds us all within this universe. That would be the light. That would be soul essence. For some humans, this is a totally new thing for them. And anyone that speaks to them about soul essence or the sun, right, will be seen as the enemy. And they won't even know why, right? They become suspicious of these individuals. Why they become suspicious of hearing about the sun and our spiritual connection to the sun. They don't know why they're suspicious of people that speak like this, but they will be. They won't necessarily tie it to those topics, but like the past, those that are targeted, those Gnostics, they will find something. They will hear voices in some cases if they're not spiritually strong that will give them that propaganda. What is wrong with that person? And they won't even know that their thoughts are not even their own. And it takes someone to walk through this type of reality to know what that's like. Whether you learn about it through one lifetime or more than one, it's an area of speculation in my own life. As the song says, as the song asks, how long has this been going on? How long have I been living like this? How many lifetimes on earth have I been living all alone, speaking about things that no one is, that freak out most of society, living on the edge of society, I can even see ancestors that have gone through this, and I've mentioned it before on this show, on this channel, 1,000 years ago. Living outside of the major metropolitan area, knowing that he would be lynched by the religious nutcases of the day and age. So he shared his spiritual views and his interpretation of the Creator in private and with his students at his temple. But if he was to go within society and hang out in the major metropolitan areas or the major religious centers of the day, so he lived, if you will, off the grid. He went off the grid at the age of 34, 30, 35, 36 in the 11th century, 10th, 11th century. And what he accrued and what he wrote didn't even reach the Western world till his information was translated in the 19th century by early Western European scholars. My ancestors. It just is a little bit ironic that the soul inside these genetics should be alive today, living off the grid, knowing that whatever epiphanies I have now are going to help the world tomorrow. While today they are just not understood and very rarely supported. I live now in a time-space reality with much archonic interference in the current dark ages. In a non-dark age reality, there would be less archonic interference and there would be more community amongst us. We would have barbecues. We would have yearly get-togethers. There would be volunteers watching this channel helping, RVSP, Airbnb. We would have our conference. There's interference. There's always been interference in our lives and on the internet. Otherwise, we would feel that brotherly and sisterly connection. We would feel a desire to travel, not just by ourselves and our playmate, as we get it on at the hotel. We were a more conscious society using a greater percentage of our brain, right? We would be doing more with this technology. We would be doing more with these bodies. Well, we have these bodies. As I sit here and I experience this Indian fall, as I call it, because literally the temperatures are like spring. And I sit outside in some cases without clothing, without a shirt, feeling in that raw sun. I enjoy that and I appreciate that. And I let go of my fear of a forest fire. If it happens, it happens. I also don't throw up major opposition to whatever nature is going to do, because I know I live in a county and a community, right, where missing dogs, are valued more than a person like me or somebody giving me a jump. I'm not going to get into things that I've already shared months ago already on YouTube. What was said, what was shared was shared. You either understand or you do not. At this point, if you've been around, there is no middle of the road. You either understand or you do not understand the reality that I live in every single day, all alone, without an ally, for hundreds of miles. You either understand the English language or you do not. So you either have to walk through certain shoes, right, to experience what something's like, or you do not. But whether you choose to give me credit or not, I'll explain to you how this brings someone closer to the Creator, which is the provider of that which is not a light bulb above us in the sky called the sun, but is that which is responsible for all life on this earth, where things are being shifted 1 degree one way or another, or is it 2 degrees? Well, for things to be adjusted one particular way or the other, we can have massive cataclysms. There's a reason there is a form of intelligence that has terraformed this reality for you and I to evolve beyond this animalism I woke up today feeling 3 o'clock in the morning that some of us might be gifted slowly with getting our friggin' souls back. This is a time in human history where we have access to so much knowledge and information, and it's not there to just sit there and play video games. It's not there to sit there and keep listening to your iPod. It's there to figure out the codes of the matrix that can set us free forever from this realm that we have been imprisoned in for many, many lifetimes. And it's time to break free. It is time for a jailbreak. That time is now. Okay, that's why they're bringing us this chaos. That's why they're aiming to bring us these problems. It's why they want our soul. That's why they want our soul. They want to get people all the false teachers, the deceivers, the alternative media. Chris Green, I'm looking at you. They are the ones serving the satanic order. They want to guilt trip their audience members into bowing down before the current systems of war, preemptive war, not recognizing the victims of war over the last couple of decades, no longer speaking of that, deceiving their audiences. And they deflect with warnings about the implantable microchip. There's some truth to that. But you can take the mark of the beast by keeping silent about the things that matter and running propaganda. Running propaganda for this system is beyond taking the mark of the beast. It's joining the beast, Chris Green. It's joining the beast. And see, the question is, do these people actually believe in God? Do these people actually believe in the afterlife? Because their actions do not suggest it. Their actions do not suggest it. I just see an endless sea of abracadabra occultists. Jesus isn't going to save your ass just by saying you give yourself to Jesus. Jesus got your back so you can continue to screw the hookers, you can continue to do the cocaine, so you can continue to hurt people and deceive people and serve your lower senses. But just give it over to Jesus, call Jesus your master archon, and all is good. No, the archon Jesus doesn't save. The archon Jesus will reward those slaves because it's something masquerading as Jesus or Christ consciousness. Oh, yeah, just give your power to me. It's like another way of selling your soul to the devil without actually selling your soul by misusing, right, in the name of Jesus. And the powers that be may save someone multiple times. Oh, okay. Well, once they see that person misusing, you can even say using the Lord's name in vain, that hand of protection, that blessing is removed. I have had the divine intervention in my life dozens of times, or periods in which I didn't have the money to get out of a bad situation and somebody, or a car breakdown, maybe a tire issue. And very quickly, like this being, it was almost as if, and I've said this before many times, but not lately, not for months, not for years, or at least 1 year. Bad things have happened to me, very bad things, only to see those things get fixed to show me there was a divine creator watching over my back. There are false believers amongst us. Believers in what? Believers in the creator. God, for some, is another word for archon. God is misused. The ultimate creator of all that is above the false idol gods. I understand there's some people whose minds cannot understand this. But if you can understand the idea of an alien or a demon or a jinn or a non-human intelligent form of supernatural abilities, convincing lesser intelligent creatures like humans that it is a god by manifesting as a brilliant beam of light or by moving aspects of the earth and mountains, by exercising certain technologies. Absolutely. Womankind, mankind has been duped since the beginning. The masses have followed and they have sacrificed the blood of the virgin and the blood of the innocents since the beginning. See, we learned, many of us, early on how we could see them by their symbols. We could see them in the ivory towers that are worshipped like gods in the modern day and age, and the same symbols used today that were used in the ancient world. Those of you that have been around the block more than the last decade, remember that, especially even more so, the end of the 90s, going into 2000, people would warn about the one world order currency, the one world order army. They would talk about the death of the dollar coming. They would talk about the rise of China and even concerns about a Chinese invasion of this country. And now it's all garbly-goo. It's civil war propaganda everywhere you look. The devil is in the alternative media. You want to look for truth and find truth? On today's top alternative media sites, you're not going to find it. And if you do find it, you might find a whole lot of truth laced with a whole lot of other dribble that sends someone off into madness. With very few exceptions to the rule. Very few exceptions to the rule. We are not a planet full of citizens. At a level of brain function, cognitive function, I don't even have volunteers. I'm not asking for much. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, people wanted to be a part of a truth movement. And now it's all spectator sport. I like it. Like. Oh, don't like. Ooh, don't like. Don't like. It's like, whoa. What is the future? If that's where we are now, and that's the cutting edge of human resistance is likes or dislikes. We're going to begin in 5 years, 10 years. Literally just with a microchip in the head. And then just the future of psychic warfare. Put on the helmet, put on the social media and go to battle bots. Where people that are trolling each other, they can have, their own little cyber witch war. They just have the helmet on and they just blast each other with troll comments. Just, yeah, you're bad. No, you're bad. Oh, yeah. Oh, what do you think about this? Oh, hell. Oh. It's like we are now there with the comment section. They've already got people into this. Yeah, let's not look at what's going on. Let's develop these weird obsessions with other people on the internet and other men in other states, and let's think about them in our sleep and wake up and visit their pages and see what they said. It's like, whoa, that's not evolving to the next level. We would be having get-togethers. We would be organizing forums on the internet. We would be having conversations. We would be evolved beyond, what are we all going to wake up, or who's going to give us the ultimate solution? Oh, this is just modern ooga booga monkey talk. When you see people do, what's the solution? Who can we trust? Well, all they are is just a modern monkey who just learned how to formate English words. But a more sophisticated use of the English language would deal with what can we do together. How can people fix the homeless problem without just putting people in camps and prisons and declaring them mentally ill once they become mentally ill from living on the streets? What needs to change? And I'm not saying we get rid of private property rights. What about respecting some people's private property rights? How about some people being allowed to live on their own land? How about a society that understands more than a few things about real women's rights and the things that need to be fixed within our own country now? Because it's a ticking time bomb. The Americans that are alive today, and I've seen the depths of their evil, their lack of compassion, their arrogance, and their apathy. They will trade each other for a loaf of bread. The men and women today that inhabit our nation, the masses, the majority, an accurate generalization, will sell each other down the river to protect their own asses from being burned alive. We are currently in the modern dark ages, and it's going to take some time for people to realize how much devastation has been done in our name. They will never be told the accurate number of the people that have been killed overseas. Furthermore, through the manufactured propaganda, the calls for a race war and full-on extermination of particular ethnicities will continue to grow as the years and decades go on. Anyone that speaks against this could be marked for death as well in the new America. Not only do I not see this changing, I don't even see people becoming aware of the calling that has already begun. In its lack of awareness, in its lack of compassion, like a drugged out prostitute with a roofie with the legs wide open, with the criminals on the other side of the room, right, waiting to get in and adulterate that human being. Our country itself has been spread, has been set up, and we are on the cusp of being whored out while being drugged out of our mind and not even realizing the rate that's taking place. This is what they've been building for America for a long, long time. There are very few men vocally standing against what their plans are, as far as I can tell. If I knew their names, if I knew the YouTube channels, who these men were that stood by me, I would stand by them, or stood by the message, that weren't like mesmerized by all this Donald Trump, daddy, return of the king, lock her up, lock her up. I mean, there's no evidence that those of us, some of us suspecting Trump, are fans of Hillary. This damaged, hammer to the head way of looking at our fellow brothers and sisters is a manufactured intelligence agency talking point to destroy the liberty movement within. The very people, right, that might be receptive to things that I've talked about over the years: economic collapse, World War III, freedom, liberty, the Constitution, living off the grid, for example. Technology is being outsourced to China and Russia. The very people, right, have been co-opted by the enemy. They literally think the corruption's been dealt with, and it's been isolated to the deep state. And anyone that's trying to wake them up is a threat to them. You can't help a society like that. It's already going into zombie apocalypse mode. I don't know what's going to change it. More commentary is needed. I will be back. But these are the signs of a society not only in decline, but a society that's already collapsing. It's in slow motion. Nothing short of a major solar blast could change things that I'm aware of, or something to that effect. And if there weren't things for you and I to learn, right, from this reality, then we wouldn't be here. We would be on another planet with what we would consider to be our family. But until we find our family, until we feel that sense of reunitement, we're going to continue to feel like castaways. We're going to feel like spiritual droplings from a higher, greater place, somehow or another, that feels left behind. That our actual incarnation itself is that left behind. Those left on the earth to see if they can figure it out one more time. One more time. One more time. It is up to each of us to determine whether it is the last dance. The last dance. So I will be back with more.